This is Marie. We're from Sandmines based in Amsterdam and London. And we worked for the project we'll be talking about in the Netherlands with the national train service operator. And we thought for this talk to try to briefly, just in 10 minutes, go through the project as an example, and then really move on to more sort of general reflections on transformation, how we saw this project contributed to a transformation in the service improvement innovations on the client side. And then we even hope to be finished in 20 minutes and have a conversation with you so we can do some Q&A. So we'll try to move forward quickly. And this is, by the way, before I head in, a collaboration as well. So it was Standby as an agency and Eden Spiekerman, an agency based in Amsterdam as well. And we collaborated on this project. And as I said, it's all about train traveling. We were approached by the national train service operator. There are actually two. One that runs the stations and the tracks infrastructure, and the other one that runs the trains. And we were invited in, and they said we're very interested in service design, but we're very unfamiliar with it. So we're curious to learn, and curious to learn what it can tell us about improving our services. But we don't have a specific briefing, but we do have a specific topic area. They said look at the platforms and look at the distribution of people on the platforms, because as the operators of the stations, we're responsible for people's comfort and for safety. And they had some question marks because at certain times they saw a lot of congestion where they were unsure about comfort and safety. So they said, we worry a lot about infrastructure, we're engineers, so we'd like to hear from you from the perspective of the train traveler. What do they say about services on the platform, and what do they say should we improve? And actually it was quite a long collaboration with this organization, because from the start, as they said, we don't know about service design, but we'd like to learn, we want to improve. So we'll embark on a collaboration which we'll commission in steps. So they actually commissioned us for 3 projects over the course of 2 years, where we gradually with them found out what from this large topic area would be the focus for actual concepts to develop, and we actually implemented it and had a 4-month real-time test as well with train travelers, which we evaluated quantitatively and qualitatively as well. So that has been a real transformation process where we worked very intensely with the client team. So at the start, as I said, it was quite an open question from the client team, where they said, well, what moves people literally? What makes them move, but also what is their motivation to find your place along the platform? What's routines and preferences and motivations? And of course with the objective not to just learn, but really to map and find out what are the biggest issues or what are the biggest and most challenging opportunities for improvement. So that's what we set out to do.
Yeah. So what you can see from these questions is that we began with this very exploratory question, so what are people doing? And that is also, you can also see that back in the research methods we used throughout this project. I will go through it quite quickly because we are all service designers, we all know this stuff, so this is not the most exciting bit. So we did observations on platform to get an idea what are people doing, so how do they move, where do they go, where do they stand still, so to get an idea of their movement patterns on this train platform. And then we know what, but we didn't know why. So in the interviews with train travelers, we came to dig deeper into that why questions. Well, why do you move? And why do you stand still? And interview with train travelers. And to also get even more input, we also designed diaries for train travelers. So for a period of 4 weeks, they would keep track of their train travels and indicate also their movement, their preparations, what they were doing, but also how does that go? So how happy are you with each of these steps, and how can you go through this process easily or not so easily? So a lot of data, and of course we had to communicate that back to our clients so we could make decisions together and see what we would go further with. So these were the first deliverables from the observation studies. So we identified recurring patterns on the platform, and we matched that with the proof, so to say, so what we saw on the platform, so big posters we could explore together. And in the interviews we found that the motivations of people to go through the customer journey, to go in a specific way through the customer journey, we're very much dependent on if they are doing an incidental trip, what we call, so a trip that they didn't make very often, so there's much more preparations, they look out for the information boards on the station much more, and they don't know where to stand on the platform, or when they're doing a frequent trip, as we call it, and that's, you know at what time you should leave home, and then you just go straight and you don't look at any information board in the station anymore. And you often also have a favorite place on the platform to stand. So what you saw here, there was the front of a poster, so here we would explain how these customer journeys look like. And from that we also derived opportunities from improvement and problems, and that was the basis or the starting point for us to discuss with the client, okay, so this is basically everything we can do and where we will zoom into.
Yeah, so that poster, the front and the back side, where you see the customer journeys and we map out the issues and the opportunities, is one of the deliverables we'll discuss. But those discussions really happen a lot in sessions where you can go through the material, and on the laptop we're showing quite a lot of films, so we made little documentaries out of the interviews and the observations we did to really give the client team the opportunity to immerse themselves in the insights, and also to then have a strategic conversation with them what of the opportunities and issue areas to focus on, because out of the exploratory stage there's a shopping list of maybe 20 things that the travelers were saying, you could improve this, but you can't do everything in one go. So we had to make a strategic choice on what was maybe most urgent, what was maybe most feasible, and we made a choice. And that was surprising to the client that we started off. It was really about the moment of getting in and out of the train, rather than the platform itself. We started, their assumption was maybe we should do something on the platform. The travelers were actually telling us, yes, you can improve the platform, we can have better waiting areas, we can have better shops, whatever. But actually, if you ask us, help us to get to know where the train stops and get in and out of the train, and actually know where I can find a seat. And that's a moment where we really found out that we needed a good collaboration with those two train operators in the Netherlands. We couldn't work only with the infrastructure operator. We needed the operator of the trains. So we put a lot of energy in to get the right stakeholders involved. And that's, for instance, in that graph that I showed with these wheels. That's really in between, that you can do the next step in the project. It's really a process where you need to find those stakeholders and get them involved. And that worked out quite well.
Yeah. So here, as design researcher, our role more or less changed. So in the beginning, we were very much exploring what is happening and why and what can we do. And now we had made a decision, we wanted to focus, and now we had to come to solutions. So now our role was not so much more to see what is going on, but to inspire the design teams. Okay, so this is the problem, and now you have to get inspired and to come to these solutions. So in another round of research, we went with train travel to train platforms, and they were just explaining what they were doing, and just we collected very rich materials. We made short video documentaries of them, and for them to explain, okay, so this is basically what I'm doing. And we made a short compilation of that, but we will show you now.
Je weet natuurlijk niet hoe lang of groot de trein is.
Ja.
Maar je gaat vanuit dat als er bij een bord, dat is het een beetje. Je gaat vanuit dat in de buurt van het bord altijd wel de trein zal stoppen.
Tot het eind van de overkapping doorrijdt. En tot aan de volgende roltafdag, zo lang is het meestal wel. Maar soms met de dubbeldekker dan rijd je door en dan is hier het einde al. En dan van hier nog allemaal mensen. Ja, ik denk ook van dit dus dan gaat die hele meut allemaal naar die laatste coupé hol onder nog in.
hier dan dromen mensen en dan hoe verder naar voren je loopt, dan wordt het wat rustiger. Dus dan heb je wat makkelijker een plekje voor het uitzoeken eigenlijk.
Stopt de trein ongeveer, zeg maar.
Oké.
Tweede klasse, ja.
Ja.
En dan kies ik er dus op voor om hier dan meteen in te stappen, maar dat ligt eraan hoe groot de bus mensen ervoor staat. En dan
Ja.
dat is 1 keer beter.
Oké.
Dan van tevoren waar het fietsencoupé is? Nee, dat weet je niet. Dus dat is uitkijken. Dan sta je ook zo van open. Vroeger hadden we altijd zulke kleine fietsjes op de deur. Echt heel klein. Maar nu zijn ze een stuk groter. En nou ja, en dan zie je, denk je, oh die gaat uit Holland, maar dan zie je daar meer fietsers. Dan denk je, oh die gaat uit.
Dan is het een enkele trein, dan komt hij veel verder.
Ja.
Dus vaak komt hij daar.
Ja.
En als het een dubbele trein is, dan stopt hij meestal hier. Dus dan kijk ik vaak een beetje welke trein het is. Dus
Ja.
als het wat enkelvoudig is, loop ik een beetje naar voren.
En hoe zie je dat? Of zie je enkelvoudig of...
Ja, dat gewoon de herkenning aan de trein. Maar ja, ik zie het herken.
Je ziet dat hij aankomt?
Ja, als hij aankomt, dan zie ik
Oké.
van welke trein.
Recognize it?
So as you can see from this material, it really much illustrates the problems that were occurring on this train platform, and it really works as an inspiration for designers to take these people as a starting point in the design process. So, but what we also discovered in this whole process of involving train travelers, involving them with discovering the problems, is that they were becoming alert on their movements and alert on their behavior, and then they got all these ideas that they wanted to share with us. They invented their solutions themselves. So we designed a co-creation workshop wherein we involved the travelers, the designers and the client as well, and for them to come together to solutions, and also as an inspiration means, but also for the train travelers to really be able to communicate. So yeah, I would like this, or I would like it to be solved that way.
They're very dedicated actually, because public transport feels like it's ours. So people were very happy to be involved and to think with us about solutions. And the solutions that came up in the co-creation workshop resonated very well with the design team that was already working on new service concepts. So that was really good as well. That was exciting to see. So what happened in that stage is that 12 different concepts for improving the getting in and out of the train were developed, and only in a sort of visual storyboard way communicated and discussed with the client, so there wouldn't be too much investment yet in implementation, and to choose again from those 12 which one should we implement. And they were very, very different. I'll just skip through them quite quickly to go on to the implementation. So from virtual, an app which you can use of course outside the station, to literally signage on the platform to give you much more control about actual information, or more architectural, make the space more interactive, or making zones on the platform, well again making the space more interactive, the signage, much more detail about the actual train composition and where it stops, and also about seats. People were telling us all the time, I'd like to know if I can find a seat. Is this going to be a very crowded train, or is it a train with, and should I hurry? And where should I stand on the platform? And even if you're changing trains, if you're in one train, you'd like to know from the next one, where is it going to stop? And where shall I go to the rear or shall I go to the front? So these were quite different concepts, and we had lengthy discussions with the two train operators and the design team. And they really also provided us, because we are not domain experts, they are. So they provide us with a lot of knowledge as well to make that strategic choice. Which one of those 12 rises up to the top priority list? And two were chosen for implementation, and they've been working for 4 months to test it out.
Yeah, that was
You
very
explain?
excited. Yeah, for a period of 4 months, we got to test two of the concepts. So one of them is what you see here. It's a 180 meters long
200.
200
200. Yeah.
200 meters LED screen on the train platform that gives you live information about your train. So they equipped the trains with sensors to see how busy it is in the different compartments, and that was communicated live to the platform. So when it's red, it's very busy, and when it's green, it's not so busy. But it gives also more information about how where will I find the second class coach and the first class coach before the train is there. So you know when you arrive on the platform where you have to stand. And we were very lucky also to be involved in the testing phase. So our role also developed there. So we at some point we interviewed travelers on how are they using the screen and how are they using it the way we thought they would use it. But the client needed us also to formulate the business case around it. So he needed the numbers. So in online panels, so I think maybe 800 people participated in this online panel. For a period of 4 months, they were giving us feedback and really quantitative data, quantitative analysis. And it was very rich to be able to combine those two. So people are using it, and when from the interviews you got new insights that you could test in the online panel again and get these numbers for the client right. So we did that for the screen, but there were also an app developed by NS. It gives basically the same information, but now it's communicated to the app, and a test group of 800 people got to test it, and for a period of 4 months give us feedback. And in the same way we investigated with them how are you using it, when are you using it, and also again the quantitative analysis of this data. So is it doing what it's supposed to do, and are people getting happy enough for us to be able to implement it further? And what we saw from this research is that people were very happy with this extra information. They were reacting very positively, and although it seems like it's the same information and just two different means, the way they were using it was quite different. So the screen or the app would be in a different moment in the customer journey would be valuable, and the screen would be at another moment, and there were quite some differences in the way they were using both of these concepts or prototypes.
So actually in the end it was a really win-win result from the test. So both the travelers were telling us, yes, we'd like this, please do it in all the trains, the sensors and across, because this was one line in the Netherlands going from, let's say, north to south. So they said, let's cover it in the whole country. But also for the business case for the service operators, it makes perfect sense, because it gives them a much better way to plan the material to put in, and also for decreasing delays. So if the train stops over there and I'm waiting here, you better wait till I get in. So often trains are delayed for that as well. So really on, let's say, customer satisfaction, giving people the control, the demand, but also for the internal operations, it's a perfect business case. So they're actually doing the numbers now and seeing how it could be rolled out. So that's really, really nice. It takes time, because it was of course a hack to do this 4-month actual test. So we're at 20 minutes now, so we'll take a few minutes for the transfer. So we have a few key points on transformation to connect it to the topic of the conversation of the conference, where we really saw that in this long journey together with the client team, doing these series of projects who were well planned and well budgeted in time and in money, but also it was an ongoing conversation to see where do we go next and where do we go next, and we really saw them embracing the service design approach and getting other people on board as well, and the stakeholders. So we really saw that in these periods it might be difficult for us as creatives to have the stamina and the commitment to really be there. And because we're always happy here, we're happy with doing these quick cycles, that's the project, let's say. But these periods are super important to make sure that we can go and get the more systemic long-term change. And that in the end is how we could get to this choice of these two implementations of these concepts. So it was not easy, it was not always easy, but really satisfying. And we think there's two points that, shall I Just
Yeah.
go through the 2 points that really helped that carried that. And one is really that perspective from the travelers. They asked for it, and we made sure that they got it, to have those shared stories as a reference point for the travelers, to go beyond just looking at the platform and how can we change the platform. Really say, this is where the thumbs really go up if you change that. Share those stories with them. Get them involved in speaking with the travelers as well. Just have direct contact. And the second one is really that iterative work together with the client team and the design team, and to go through these stages and make these considered choices, because you can only spend the budget once, so it has to be a really good decision on which you are going to implement, and that takes time. So it's a lot of conversation and definitely using their domain expertise as well to make that considered choice. And they were very open for it. That was really nice to notice. Also, it wasn't always easy to get the right people together. Sometimes you had to wait for 2 months for the next workshop to have the right stakeholders there to have the discussion. But in the end, they really engaged. So a long-term process of a series of projects with, in the end, results we're really proud of. And you don't actually often be in the position that it's already implemented, and you can test it both with the numbers and with the qualitative insights. So yeah, we would say a win-win outcome for both sides, which we always say is a big part in the service design definition. It should add value for both the customers and the organization. And we're very proud as well to see that it's being noticed. We're just awarded last week for the design prize in Rotterdam, which is really nice because it's a service. It's not an object. So we're curious. There's going to be a vote online, so if you vote for us, please do. In January it will be awarded, and later this week in the UK as well there will be a nomination for a prize. And there is a book we'd like to recommend to you, because this project has been followed as well by some academics from TU Delft and Utrecht, and they've written about the case studies. And it has been published initially in Dutch, but it's just been translated. So there's a PDF. If you send us an email, we'll send you the PDF. It's freely available, and it describes methods and process, but also overarching learnings of those people following the case studies. That's it.